He checked his bank balance before his feet even hit the floor. £12 and 43 pence. That was all. And yet somehow, he owed over £18,000. James wasn't reckless. He didn't gamble, didn't splurge on luxury holidays, didn't drive a flashy car. He worked a steady job, paid his bills, mostly on time, and really tried, to be better with money. Still, every month felt the same. Salary in, relief, bills out, anxiety, unexpected expense, panic, credit card, repeat. If this sounds familiar, it's not because people are careless. It's because most people are trapped in a system and a mindset that quietly keeps them in debt. This is the story of why. The first trap: I'll fix it later. James's debt didn't start big. It started with a phone, the latest model, contract deal, only £45 a month. He justified it easily. I need a good phone for work. I deserve something nice. It's not that much. Then came a sofa. Buy now, pay later. Then a holiday. Put it on the credit card. Then Christmas. Then life. Debt rarely arrives as a crisis. It arrives disguised as convenience. And the most dangerous thought of all? I'll sort it out later. Later never comes, because later assumes something will change. More money, more discipline, more time. But for most people, nothing fundamentally changes. The second trap: minimum payments. At first, James wasn't worried. He was making payments. That felt responsible. His credit card statement said, minimum payment, £72. Easy, he thought. What it didn't say, at least not loudly enough, was this: at that rate, he would spend years paying off the balance, and thousands in interest. Minimum payments are designed to feel manageable, not to make you free. They keep you comfortable and stuck. Month after month, James paid just enough to stay afloat, but never enough to escape. Debt didn't shrink. It lingered. The third trap: lifestyle creep. Then came a raise. Finally, James thought, things will change. More money meant more freedom, right? Not quite. Within months, his life adjusted. He moved to a slightly nicer flat, started ordering takeout more often, upgraded his gym membership. Subscriptions quietly stacked up. Music, streaming, apps he barely used. Nothing outrageous, just better. But better comes with a price. His expenses rose to match his income. His debt didn't disappear. It just blended into a more expensive life. This is lifestyle creep, and it's one of the most silent reasons people stay in debt, because it convinces you you're progressing while you're actually standing still. The fourth trap: emotional spending. One night, after a brutal week at work, James did what many people do. He opened his laptop, just browsing, he told himself. 2 hours later, he had bought trainers he didn't need, gadgets he wouldn't use, and clothes he'd forget about in a month. Total, £327. That's the thing about emotional spending. It works. For a moment. Stress, boredom, loneliness, frustration. Money becomes a quick escape. A way to feel in control, even when everything else isn't. But the feeling fades, the debt stays, and the cycle continues. The fifth trap: normalization. Here's what really kept James stuck. Everyone around him was in debt too. Friends joked about maxed out credit cards. Colleagues talked about loans like they were just part of adult life. Social media showed lifestyles that looked effortless, but were often financed by debt. It all made his situation feel normal. And if something feels normal, you don't question it. You don't fight it. You accept it. That's why so many people never escape debt. Not because they can't, but because they stop believing they should. The sixth trap: lack of clarity. For a long time, James avoided looking at the full picture. He knew he had debt, but he didn't know exactly how much. It was spread across 2 credit cards, an overdraft, a personal loan, a buy now, pay later account individually. Each one felt manageable. Together, they were overwhelming. So he didn't look. And what you don't face, you can't fix. Avoidance is comfortable in the short term, but expensive in the long term. The turning point. The change didn't come from a financial guru. It came from a moment. One morning, James tried to pay for groceries, and his card was declined. Not because he had no money, but because he had no available credit. That was the moment it hit him. He wasn't in control. Debt was. That evening, he did something he had avoided for years. He wrote everything down, every balance, every interest rate, every monthly payment. It was worse than he thought, but it was also the first honest look he'd had. And honesty is where change begins. What most people get wrong about debt. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Debt isn't just a money problem. It's a behavior problem. You can increase your income and still stay in debt. You can consolidate loans and still stay in debt. You can budget perfectly on paper and still stay in debt. Because if the habits don't change, the outcome doesn't change. Most people look for shortcuts, quick fixes, hacks, tricks. But escaping debt isn't about tricks. It's about transformation. What actually changed for James? James didn't suddenly become perfect. He didn't double his income overnight. He didn't win the lottery. He did something much simpler and much harder. He changed how he thought. 1. He stopped negotiating with himself. No more, just this once. No more, I deserve it. No more, I'll fix it later. Every purchase had to pass one question. Does this move me closer to being debt-free or further away? If it didn't help, it didn't happen. 2. He paid more than the minimum. At first, it hurt. Cutting back on spending meant saying no to dinners, to trips, to things that used to feel normal. But every extra pound he put toward his debt made a difference. Slow at first, then faster. Momentum builds when you stop standing still. 3. He made debt visible. He tracked everything. Not obsessively, but consistently. Balances went down, and seeing that progress changed something in him. Debt stopped feeling like an endless tunnel. It became a path with an exit. 4. He faced the emotional side. Instead of spending to escape stress, he found other ways to cope. Walking, talking, writing. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Because the goal wasn't just to fix his money, it was to fix the behavior behind it. Why most people never escape. James eventually got out. Not quickly, not easily, but completely. And along the way, he realized something important. Most people don't stay in debt because they're bad with money. They stay because they underestimate small decisions. They overestimate future discipline. They confuse comfort with progress. They avoid uncomfortable truths. They accept what should be challenged. Debt isn't just numbers. It's habits, emotions, and beliefs. And until those change, the numbers rarely do. The hard truth. Getting out of debt requires doing things most people won't do. Saying no when it's easier to say yes. Living below your means when others don't. Delaying gratification in a world built on instant rewards. Facing reality instead of avoiding it. That's why most people never escape. Not because it's impossible, but because it's uncomfortable. The good news. If you've seen yourself in James's story, here's what matters. You're not stuck. You're just repeating patterns. And patterns can be changed. Not overnight, not perfectly, but consistently. Debt doesn't disappear in one big moment. It disappears in hundreds of small, disciplined decisions. Final thought. James still checks his bank balance in the morning, but now it's not out of fear, it's out of awareness. Because the real shift wasn't just becoming debt-free, it was becoming in control. And that's something most people never experience, not because they can't, but because they never decide to. If this made you think differently about money, hit like, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe for more real stories that actually change how you live.